Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a story that honestly sounds completely made up. We're talking about a 14th century ruler whose unimaginable wealth literally crashed entire economies. History is full of rich kings and massive empires, right? But it is absolutely mind-blowing to discover that nobody, and I mean nobody, possessed a fortune so vast that the mere act of giving it away could shake the foundations of human civilization. We're looking at the unbelievable rise and fall of the Mali Empire and its legendary ruler, Mansa Musa.
So, I want you to picture the wealthiest person ever. Who comes to mind? Usually we immediately think of modern tech titans, right? The pioneers of the digital age with net worths in the hundreds of billions. But what if I told you that the richest person in human history actually lived 800 years ago in Africa? And his wealth was so incomprehensible, historians literally struggle to even put a number on it.
Let's put this into perspective. When we stack up the numbers, Mansa Musa's wealth was so vast it makes the combined assets of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates look like, well, mere grains of sand in the Sahara. We're talking about a fortune that wasn't built on software or online retail, but on the tangible, glittering foundations of the medieval world.
Just to give you a sense of this empire's absolute power, back in the 14th century, the Mali Empire held an astonishing 50% of the entire world's gold reserve. Half of it. Let that sink in for a second. One single empire controlled half of the most valuable global asset of the time. But how exactly did a small African state achieve that kind of absolute dominance?
Well, that brings us to part 1, Empire Lost at Sea, the Mysterious Ascent.
To understand how Musa got all this power, we actually have to look at the crazy events that put him on the throne. The previous ruler, Emperor Abu Bakr II, was absolutely obsessed with crossing the Atlantic Ocean. He firmly believed a prosperous new world was out there. So first, he sends out 200 ships with 10,000 soldiers. After a long time, just one single ship returns. The crew is terrified, claiming a massive sea monster in the depths of the Atlantic had swallowed the rest of the fleet. You'd think that would stop him, right? Nope. It actually convinced Abu Bakr that the monster was guarding a rich land. So he builds a massive armada of 2,000 ships, gathers 50,000 soldiers, leaves his minister, Mansa Musa, in charge, and sets sail into the Atlantic. And he vanished forever. Just like that, Mansa Musa became the permanent ruler.
And what he inherited was a massive superpower. By the time Musa solidified his rule, the Mali Empire stretched across a staggering 500,000 square miles. That is much larger than many modern European countries combined. From the Niger River all the way to the Sahara, and from the Western Forest to Northern Africa, it held nearly 5% of the entire global population. The echoes of its wealth were already starting to reach as far as Europe and Asia.
Now for part 2, the power of gold and salt.
What's really fascinating here is the stark contrast in resources. On one hand, you've got boundless gold pouring out of the famous Bambouk and Beret mines. But on the other, salt, coming from the Tagaza mines in the northern Sahara. Now, in our modern world, salt is super cheap and totally ordinary. But in the blistering desert heat of the 14th century, high demand and extremely limited supply meant salt was actually far more valuable than gold itself. Wild, right? And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Musa didn't just passively sit on a mountain of natural resources. He was a visionary administrator. He built this highly organized state infrastructure with a sweeping taxation system where every single ounce of gold and salt extracted, and every trade made in the markets was heavily taxed. Plus, while he made Islam the official religion, he never suppressed other faiths. This religious tolerance, paired with justice and security, meant brilliant minds from all over Africa literally flocked to Mali. He created this highly stable, immensely profitable economic machine.
Which leads us to part 3, the journey that shook the economy.
Okay, picture a moving city crossing the scorching Sahara. If you were standing in the desert back then, you wouldn't just see a caravan, you'd see a literal tsunami of wealth. We're talking over 60,000 people marching together, all decked out in fine Persian silk. Leading the way were 500 elite guards protecting the emperor. And get this, each one was carrying a staff made of solid glittering gold.
Trailing behind this massive crowd was a seemingly endless caravan. Imagine 80 camels walking single file, kicking up golden dust in the desert air as they made their way toward the Middle East for Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca. But here's the most staggering number of all, the one that truly defines this whole journey. Each and every one of those 80 camels carried about 300 pounds, or 130 kilograms of pure gold. That comes out to an unbelievable 21,000 kilograms of gold for a single trip.
In an era where gold was the absolute backbone of currency, bringing this much metal into a foreign market was like dropping an atomic bomb on an economy.
And that brings us to the law of unintended consequences. See, when Musa reached Cairo, he was so unbelievably generous, handing out gold to the poor, to soldiers, and in the markets, that he completely flooded the economy. He injected so much gold into circulation that its value just plummeted overnight. It's a classic, devastating lesson in supply and demand. His extreme generosity single-handedly sparked a severe hyperinflation crisis in Egypt and the broader Middle East that took over a decade to stabilize.
The entire journey was just packed with these mind-blowing flexes of wealth and power. I mean, to leave his religious mark, Musa ordered a brand new mosque to be built wherever his caravan stopped on a Friday. When his wife complained about the desert dust, he commanded hundreds of workers to dig an irrigation canal overnight just to settle the sand for her. Talk about setting an impossibly high bar for romance. And according to historians like Ibn Khaldun, when he met the Sultan of Egypt, he masterfully balanced diplomacy and devotion. He was expected to bow to the Sultan, but Musa refused to bow to a man, declaring he would only bow to Allah. So he kissed the ground for God instead, keeping his dignity while still maintaining the Sultan's respect. This legendary journey literally put Mali on European maps for the very first time.
Now let's move to part 4, the end of the Mali Empire.
As you know, nothing lasts forever, and it's wild how quickly it all fell apart. Sometime around 1332 or 1337, Mansa Musa passed away. He was succeeded by a son who, unfortunately, entirely lacked his father's visionary leadership. He basically just lived off the empire's luxuries. To maintain that lavish lifestyle, taxes were aggressively raised, which sparked rapid public rebellion. Greedy ministers started stealing from the treasury. This internal rot weakened Mali so much that by the 15th century, the neighboring Songhai Empire easily invaded and captured their crown jewel city of Timbuktu. Finally, in the 16th century, a Moroccan invasion shattered what was left. This golden empire was completely wiped off the map in just a few generations.
Today, historians tried to pin his wealth somewhere around $300 to $400 billion. But looking at the historical records, the sheer scale of his gold, his land, and his economic impact, the truth is his fortune was likely in the trillions. It was so incredibly vast that it's literally incalculable by modern economic standards. He wasn't just wealthy, the guy was wealth personified.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. After exploring history's ultimate fortune, built on gold, salt, and vision, yet ultimately lost to time, if you suddenly acquired Mansa Musa's limitless wealth today, what is the very first thing you would buy?